Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Notorious POD. Obviously, I am your host, Rob Hahn. But very excited today because I've got a special guest and we're going to tackle a topic that certainly I've been talking about for a while. It is certainly something that people are I would say it's at the forefront of their minds. But my guest has the advantage of actually being a real estate broker and a real estate agent who's been thinking about this for many years. So let's bring him on. Please say hello to Mr. Jim Klinge. Is it Kling or Klinge? Am I saying that? What?
Well, the official Dutch pronunciation is Klinge,
Uh-huh.
but I go by Kling.
All right. Well, Jim, thanks for joining me. As I mentioned, I think, and we were talking about it a little bit. I know I've been following your blog, Bubble Info. I want to say since like 2010, 2009, but I know you've had it going longer than that. Tell us a little bit about a Bubble Info.
Well, I started in 2005
Jeez, you're an OG.
thinking that I really should be alerting my clients to what is coming. It looks like the market is starting to falter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to be making moves, either buying or selling, take that into consideration. I came across this blog thing that seemed like a pretty good way to get messaging out to
Sure.
people. And I thought, I need to get on this before every other realtor starts doing blogs. Because
Right.
wouldn't every realtor want to either inform their clients or use it to find new clients?
Right.
Because blogging is a great way to demonstrate your expertise. And now here I am 16 years later, and I still don't see any realtor blogs, at least not many, and I don't know why. It works for me.
Sure.
I followed the market down on the blog and started commenting on all the doomer blogs,
Mm-hmm.
which really got people fired up because they recognized, wait a minute, this
Yeah.
guy's a realtor. We can go after him.
Yeah.
And built up quite an audience. Ended up catching the attention of the LA Times,
Mm-hmm.
who wrote a front page article about me in the blog back in 2009,
Yep.
which the mass media picked up on. And the next thing I know, I'm on ABC News
Yep.
Nightline
Yep. I
talking
remember
about
that. Yeah.
the doom and gloom and how I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in April 2009, which literally, if you look at the Case-Shiller Index, that was the bottom for
Mm-hmm.
San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And people were a little reluctant to grasp that, including myself. I mean, it
Sure.
took a couple of years before anyone figured out that, wait, we're past the bottom. And I've had to really work at it to change my blog content to be solely focused on current market
Right.
conditions
Right.
and help people figure it out.
Right.
And it's changed them now. It's just full blown frenzy.
Right.
And the foreclosure days are long behind us, and
Right.
we don't even think about that anymore.
Well, so the important thing there, I think, for me is I know when you started this, what you were sort of saying out there. Again, think about the name, right, of the blog, Bubble Info. This is when 2005. I remember like people were like, "No, what are you talking about? What bubble? This is very controversial. This is the days of it's a great time to buy or sell a home. This is the days of a lot of that." So I know
Yes.
you're no stranger to controversy.
No, no stranger at all.
So one of the reason why I want to speak to you to do this is because we're both in the Geek Estate Mastermind group. That's how Drew operates, and I think we were both in there in Gem's like 2022 predictions, right?
Yeah.
And your prediction was something that I've been talking about for years. I said, "Oh, look, let's actually get with Jim and talk about it." So let's have you kind of tell the audience what your 2022 prediction was.
That buyer agency is going to go away.
Mm,
There's just so many different variables all pointing in the same direction. Something's got to give here. Something
right.
has got to change. And the unfortunately, the easiest way to not only affect all those changes, but make everybody happy is just to eliminate
Right.
buyer agents.
So
And
this is something I've been saying for the last like 3 years, and people have been calling me, conspiracy theorist. This will never happen. So
you're
I feel
blaming
like,
you. It's your
I feel
fault.
like, but I feel like you've been talking about or thinking about this for quite a bit longer. Again, you're a broker agent in San Diego, coastal San Diego, right? So this isn't something you're not like me. You're not just some consultant, working in the industry, talking to big companies and whatnot. You're on the ground, and this is like a real reality for you, right?
Yes. And
So that's why I wanted to chat. Like, okay, tell me why. Why is this your big prediction for 2022?
yeah, and we don't even have to talk about the DOJ lawsuit or anything. Let's just talk about what's on the street
Mm-hmm.
that's going to cause it, even if the DOJ and other variables don't
Right.
do anything. The I mean, it's just a fact. There isn't enough business to go around. Let's just
Okay.
start with that.
Right.
There's 20,000 agents in San Diego County, and there's about 3,000 sales of detached homes every month. Uh, uh, that doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And now that the realtor teams are really taking hold and really controlling the marketplace,
Right.
they are, well, the first thing that happened, they might have just let off the gas and been fine with it the way it is, as long as Zillow was displaying them prominently at the top of the listings where they were getting lots of Zillow leads and they were okay paying their 10, 20, 30,000 a month
Mm-hmm.
to keep their buyer agents happy. And all these Zillow leads are coming in. Zillow has now put all the agents at the bottom.
Okay.
And I don't advertise on Zillow, but I'm sure those that do aren't getting near the number of
Mm-hmm.
ad calls that they used to.
Right.
So their buyer agents are feeling it and complaining, and I'm sure the probably the biggest teams around the country, especially in areas that aren't as expensive, could probably endure that because they already can. Like that guy in Florida is doing all of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
He's already pretty dominant. But for people who are still in competitive areas like San Diego, where there's way too many agents,
Yeah.
there's just not enough to go around. And how are you going to make your buyer agents happy? Well, you're going to really want to keep your listings in house, is what you want.
Mm.
And you're really not going to want to put them on the MLS or anywhere else to expose them to anybody until you run them around your stable of buyers.
Right.
And that'll make your buyers agents happy, keeping those hot, easy to sell listings in house. Hey,
Right. Right.
um, so it's not really that buyer agents are going away. It's that it's the listings are going to be kept in house,
Right.
which means if you're just a buyer's agent working off the MLS, you're not going to be seeing that many homes. In fact, is the MLS even going to be around?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it is. I
See,
think,
I'm glad you're saying this, because if I say it again, it's like, Rob, you're doing the conspiracy theory thing again, um, but like so let's delve into that, because the pushback I get is, that's crazy. The MLS is so useful. It is an essential utility for doing business. It'll never go away, right?
well, I
But
would agree with you, Rob.
yeah,
And that is definitely the case. And if a miracle happens and the DOJ or somebody else says you must use the MLS, you must expose all your listings to all the other agents because that's what is best for the seller.
mm-hmm.
Happy day.
Yeah,
That's what it should be.
yeah.
But it ain't going that way. It's going the other way, just out of the desperation that's in the marketplace amongst agents.
So if I understand what the logic correctly, it's like, okay, let's assume for the moment, because I've been talking about Department of Justice, FTC, these lawsuits, because that's my area, right? Like that's stuff that I understand like what's going on there. But you're saying even if none of that happened, right? Even if they took no action or they just gave in, they say, "Hey, NAR, you win," right? Even if that were the case, your point is the way that the housing economics are working right now. The listing team, the big teams, are dominating the market more and more, and they need to keep their team members happy with fewer and fewer listings. So they're incentivized to keep all of it in house, right?
Yes.
So this is why we're seeing so much. I don't want to call it anger. Let's call it so much action around clear cooperation policy, right? NAR's rule that says, hey, if you have a listing, you have to put it into the MLS. They're pushing back on that because of this reason. Is that the best way to understand it?
Yeah, and I think it's just that the dynamics amongst these bigger teams,
Mm-hmm.
there's desperation amongst the agents. And I have a hot new listing. I have lots of these buyer agents around that used to be getting all these Zillow calls. Now they're not getting them. I probably should put this on the you know what? Do you got a buyer? Oh, let's just do a deal off market.
Mm.
And it's just inevitable that it's going to keep going that way. And you've talked about DOJ and FTC. I should call it FTC because I think aren't they the ones that are really going to throw down
I think so. I mean,
on the realtor community?
I've been saying that I think the legal action side is not where the where the action is. That's Department of Justice bringing lawsuits. I think the action is regulations, right? So that's the FTC. But
Yeah.
I mean, what you mentioned is another trend that I have been looking at, which is the increasing concentration of power in teams, right? And it's weird to me, like how no one can deny that, but then the brokerages and the franchises and some of the agents get pissed off because I'm pointing it out, right? Like, so let's talk about that. Again, I've spoken to a lot of teams, a lot of brokers in local markets. I don't think I've spoken to anyone in San Diego specifically. We're seeing numbers like 5% of the agents doing 80% of the business, right? Things like that. Saying something like 100 teams, right? And if you were to include all of the buyer agents who are putting in transactions and, sort of account for them as part of a team, we might have 100 agents, effectively 100 teams out of an MLS with 20,000 people in it that are touching just about 85% of all transactions, right? This insane concentration of power. I mean, is that true also in your market in San Diego?
Yes, absolutely. And we can demonstrate that just by in a little bigger
Okay.
scope, because I just put it on the blog today, the rankings for San Diego brokerages
Mm,
and Compass. I work for Compass,
right.
so I'm a homer. Well, after being an independent realtor for over 20 years, I
Sure.
joined Compass only for this one reason,
Okay.
that the the trend was obvious to me. We're going to go the way of commercial real estate,
Right.
and everyone's going to keep their listings in house. And if you can't sell it in house, well, okay, then we'll put it over on LoopNet and
Yep.
hope for the best and let the public have at it. But the good ones we'll keep in house. It's
Right.
going to go that way. You can just see it clear as day if you look at it. So I want to be with the company who's going to have the biggest market share. So Compass in
Mm-hmm.
2021, San Diego County was more than double the volume of the second place finisher.
Right.
We are, and that's with 1,100 agents of the 20,000.
Right.
So we are the dominant force. Well, if the MLS goes away, we already have it on our in-house
Right.
website. We don't need an MLS.
And my assumption is that you guys, because you're a part of Compass, and as Compass, you could take advantage of the office exclusive loophole in clear cooperations. In other words, you could advertise to other Compass agents, and
Yes.
and they could advertise to you and keep it all in house within Compass, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And Compass is not a franchise; it is a brokerage, so you could be advertising that to agents from New York or Chicago.
Anybody.
Anywhere, yeah. And this is, again, something I pointed out when they passed clear cooperation.
Yeah.
And I begged the NAR to not pass clear cooperation, or if you're going to do it, you have to eliminate this loophole. They said no. Here we are. Right. So interesting. All right.
And as long as that loophole exists, it's going to just continue the trend heading in that direction. And I would like to just comment
Yeah.
on, I can only really comment on San Diego Compass
Yeah.
for people who think there's, we're doing this off market thing already and 30% of our, no, it is a underutilized feature
Hmm.
in San Diego. We really don't use it, and it's because sellers have already heard about how crazy the market is, and they want to go on the open market and get lots of offers.
Sure. Sure.
So it's a lot harder to convince them to do an off-market sale
Right.
when they already got it in their head that they're going to have 10, 20 offers coming.
Right.
So it's really not only underutilized, I don't think we're selling hardly any of them off market now, but it's in place. And when the trend ends up going that way, we'll be ready to rock.
Interesting. Okay. Um, so is the idea then that buyer agency will go away because effectively, if you want to be a buyer's agent, right, then you have to go work for a big team, or you have to go work for a compass, like one of the dominant companies, in order to have any chance of getting, I guess, a lead to a buyer. I mean, is that kind of the thought there?
Well, I think it's probably worse than that, Rob. I think buyers are already, for the most part, unrepresented.
Really?
And you can, well, let's just start with Redfin, if you don't mind me throwing names
Oh, sure.
around.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care.
I mean, they are the ones that have pioneered this whole thing. And it's embarrassing, to be honest with you, that they think that what's good for buyers is to send out a brand new licensee that's getting paid $50 a door to open the door. They don't know anything about real estate. I'll give you a great story about it.
Okay.
Last year, $2.2 million listing. I'm willing to work with Redfin agents begrudgingly, but I'll do it. They want to show my $2.2 million listing. I've already got lots of action and a couple offers in. And this is like day 3 of the listing. So I'm thinking I'm going to probably be wrapping this up, but I'll show it to you. And this lady comes, and obviously she's just a door opener. I had to ask. I guess you probably knew with Redfin. Her answer, oh, no, I've been with Redfin for 2 weeks.
Right.
And it just, that answer alone made it clear. Her only job is to figure out how to work the lockbox. She figured that out the first week, and she's a veteran. That's all she does. And
Yeah, but Jim,
literally,
come on, let's be fair. I mean, it isn't as if other agents, other teams, other companies aren't using showing agents, right? So as long as those showing agents make it clear to the buyer, look, I don't know anything about this house. I'm here just to open this door for you, right? But I'm not going to render an opinion on the price. I'm not going to render an opinion on on the neighborhood. I don't know anything. I'm not a buyer's agent. And then once the showing's completed, that person, at least with Redfin's model, as I understand it, is they would then contact the real buyer's agent, right?
yeah,
Who would
who's
then
back
do
at
the
the
analysis,
office,
right? That's the idea.
who's never seen the house. And if the buyer's got any questions about the house in particular, that agent back in the office, oh, I haven't seen it. Oh, don't worry about it. We'll have a home inspection.
Yeah, all I'm pointing out is this practice of using showing agents is something that Redfin might have pioneered, but certainly I
Yeah,
feel
they
like
pioneered.
teams and other companies have absolutely embraced that as well, right?
And I will agree with you. And
Yeah,
I'm going to say that the realtor teams have modeled themselves on the Redfin model.
right, right.
And I'm blaming Redfin for
I don't
where
know.
we're at.
Yeah,
And literally, if you're a big team and you're a very successful agent and you decided you're building a team, you got 5, 10, 20 people on your team, how much do you really get into it with all those people? Are you out there training them yourself every
Hmm.
day? How are they learning the business? Do they even learn the business? And by the time you get up to having 5, 10, 20, 50 people, you might be doing some ongoing training. You might send them to the Tom Ferry library
Hmm.
of YouTubes to learn a little something. But is there really any kind of formal training? No, it's just learn on the job. And
Right.
that's what Redfin has done since the beginning. And that's the way it is. So now, I mean, isn't it natural that now that we got to this point where we are just showing agents, we just open the door? Do we even really need that person?
Hmm.
Not really.
Right.
And the big teams will have a couple of people like that to show their own listings. And the buyer's agents that are on teams are the ones that are going to be in trouble. They'll still have the showing agents, the door openers, but anybody who works off the MLS to find product to sell their buyers, there isn't going to be an MLS. And that,
Oh,
I think
interesting.
that's really where the problem's going to end up being.
Right. So this feels a little bit like a long-term trend, not necessarily. I mean, do you really see this happening in 2022 this year?
Well, the other thing that is playing a vital role in this is how old the realtor population is.
Hmm.
And if, and I'm one of them, I mean, I'm old, I'm 62.
Hmm.
And if you're a realtor and you're my age or older, can you keep up?
Isn't that why you have a team though? Have, a couple of younger buyer agents and, showing agents for like 30, right?
Yeah. And if there's people who are swift enough that they can figure that out and handle that, great. But how about all those people? I remember when I worked at Century 21 and other places back in the day where it's
Hmm.
just loaded up with people working the floor, getting buyer calls, and living on doing mostly buyer transactions.
Hmm.
All those people are now 60, 70, 80 years old.
Hmm.
I have an escrow right now with an 80-year old.
Wow. Yeah.
Whoa, my God. I hope
Listen,
it's a rat.
as I was thinking about this, talking to you, it almost feels to me. So let me throw this idea at you. That maybe it's not that we're going to see buyer agency go away, right? Maybe what we can start to see, maybe what we should see, is some differentiation in terms of price. Because this has been one of my big complaints about, about the way things work with kind of the commission-based cooperation compensation. Because a lot of your complaints, Jim, a lot of what you're pointing out is the fact that you have these showing agents, you have these buyer agents who really don't provide a lot of value, right? At the same time, I mean, can we agree that if you are, in other words, if I were to use you to be my buyer's agent because I want to buy in San Diego, right? You've been in the business for decades, you know the neighborhood. I mean, what would I get from using you as a buyer agent as opposed to using some showing agent or somebody brand new, right? Presumably, I'm going to get the advantage of your expertise, your network, your knowledge, how to negotiate, all of those things, right?
I can open a lockbox faster.
You can do that as well. But if,
I'm really
like,
good at it.
because I've always used a buyer's agent every time we bought a house. And, and I think there's a lot of value that a good buyer's agent brings, to me as the consumer. The issue is that person is going to get paid the same,
Oh, yeah, it's
right?
terrible. It is
So,
terrible if that's the case.
so
I'd
in
love
a
to see
way,
that.
like, couldn't that be the case where you might still have, if you will, quote, buyer agency, right? In the sense that, look, you want to open a door, that's $10. You're going to get that. You want to do a crappy job of negotiating because you're new, you're not going to be able to charge, what a real experienced, top-notch agent would be able to do. And I kind of feel like this is the same thing with lawyers or with accountants or with consultants, If you're new, you're less experienced, you don't have the business, then you can't charge as much as the big law firm guys with 30 years experience and a long track record. I mean, wouldn't that be the better way of thinking about this?
Yeah, it would. I don't know. I don't have the power to have that change happen, though. I just complain about it. It would be nice if it changed like that because I will. Let's mention what I would do.
Hmm.
on top of what just a showing agent does. When I show you around a house, I am able to identify everything that's wrong with the house, things that could be a deal killer, like you don't want to buy this house because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that needs to be fixed, I can give you a pretty good estimate of what it's going to cost
Mm-hmm.
right on site while you're there making decisions.
Right.
I can tell you about the comps around the neighborhood and how this one fares. I can also give you lots of information about market trends currently and where this is all going to go. And do you take a chance on this one given the comps and where the market in general is going?
Mm-hmm.
And can we buy it for a price that reflects the right value and has the repairs needed built in? That was a fantastic tool set up
Yeah.
until frenzy, because now it's just a
Yeah.
matter of trying to figure out how to win.
Yeah.
And
Let me ask you
it's
something, Joe. How did you come by that knowledge? Like, do you have a background in construction and
no, just
contracting? Just
just along the way. I mean, it's I learned it just like everybody else
right.
before me.
So,
You just learn on the job.
so let me ask you about it. Do you think this is something that could be taught? In other words, you had mentioned like a bit ago that one of the issues is there's no training. It's not. It's just learn the job and right. Is this something that brokerages could train? Like, in other words, let's say there's a young buyer's agent, right? Say 26 years old. Like, hey, I really want to do real estate. 21 years old, right?
Yeah.
But I want to do it the right way. And okay, like, is there some sort of training on, look, here are the things to look for. Here's the cost of repairs. Here, like, does that exist?
I don't think it exists, but I would say it's probably going to have to exist if it keeps going this way.
Mm,
Because if that lawsuit is successful and they decouple the
mm-hmm,
commissions where the seller isn't going to be paying the buyer's agent commission, then what's the buyer agent's going to do to justify being paid anything?
mm-hmm,
So they're going to have to, hopefully, they already have learned enough that they can demonstrate on their blog or someplace else
mm-hmm,
where people can come and see, oh, well, maybe I will pay this person 1 or 2% to help me out because it looks like they got some skill sets here.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, it would be slick to hire a lean, mean team of buyer agents that were really good that you could train up and
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of construction expertise at
Mm-hmm.
their disposal and really provide a great value like
Right.
we're supposed to do already. But then you just have a team like that. And if it goes to that, that's probably what we'll see. We'll probably see people who are building buyer teams, buyer agent teams.
Yeah. That doesn't
That,
strike me as a terrible thing, because again,
no,
you
that's a
mentioned
great.
commercial real estate, that this is going to head in that direction. Like, I came out of commercial. And one of the things I do know is that some of the bigger firms, some of the specialized guys in that space, they do have these site selection teams that they typically work more with retail customers. But it's pretty impressive what some of these professionals can do, right? Like, you're a Walmart or you're a fast food restaurant or something, and you want to, they go with like the level of knowledge and depth and the analysis and the Esri mapping, and they have all of the consumer traffic data and say, okay, you should put your location right here. You know, like it's
Yeah,
pretty impressive, what those
that's
guys are
a
able to
hell of
do.
a service.
Right. And I'm like, maybe
And if you're
that's,
the buyer, you're going to say, yeah,
yeah,
I'll
that
pay whatever your fee is for
that
that
wouldn't be
kind of
bad, right? Hey,
expertise.
so
Yeah,
here's everything we know about you and your family and your financial situation, whatever this and anything. Based on that, here's all this data analysis, and you should buy, one of these 7 houses, right? But here's the price point that you should buy it at because of these reasons. Like, that's a pretty solid service.
yeah, absolutely.
But again, that type of training doesn't exist now. It'd be interesting to know, like, since you are, like, take that to, your local Compass office. We should start offering this training today because this is the way buyer
This is
agency
the
is going to
coming.
go,
Yeah.
right? Your team principal, because like these are the buyer agents I want. Like, I bet they'd listen.
And nothing stopped me from just doing it myself.
There's things not from right. Start offering those classes. Like it's not about lead gen and how to use TikTok. It's about identifying problems and understanding what the cost of repairs and all of that. I mean that I think would be really valuable. Actually, something I've been wanting to see happen.
Well, how about this? I'll take it one step further. And if you or somebody who's listening to this takes this idea and runs with it, take me with you, okay?
Okay, all right.
All we need to do is go to an auction format.
Okay.
That'll solve everything, solve every problem that's wrong with real estate.
Auction format? All right, tell me why.
Selling houses by auction.
Okay.
All the shenanigans that happens between realtors all goes away. All the pricing expertise, you don't need any. Just put a minimum price on it and we're off to the races.
Right.
Build in the commission as the buyer's premium. Then we can quit complaining about the commission rate and who's paying what. And do it right, where the auction company does a home inspection and hands to anybody who's interested a copy of a home inspection by a qualified inspector.
Mm-hmm.
Do open houses for 2 weeks before the auction date. That way, in fact, if you're a buyer and you want your own inspection, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But like you just mentioned, having the entire portfolio of this home and its features available to people before they bid. Mm-hmm. Right now, you don't have a clue about a house before you bid. Right. I just had one last week where people paid $300,000 over my list price.
Jeez.
My list price was 1.8. The house literally across the street that was the same model sold for 1.45 in May.
Wow.
Now here I'm in January. I'm at 1.8. I'm thinking, well, I've got that frenzy priced in pretty good. Got lucky. The house 3 doors up just closed for 2.125,
mm-hmm.
but was bigger and had a pool. And when that happens, that was one guy that paid that. You can't really say that's a trend. So I'm going to price at 1.8, and it's easier to go up than down. I'm happy to work with people to get them to bid it up. Got 6 offers, bid it up to 2.1 million.
Jesus Christ.
Had 2 people willing to pay 2.1 million when the comp was 145 from May.
Man, your market, holy crap.
That's a 45% increase in about 8 months.
That's your market. It's just I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. I'm in Las Vegas and we have a crazy market too, but not like you guys.
Not at these numbers. No. It's the dizzying heights of these numbers that are crazy that there's so many people that can afford $2 million. I had 6 offers. And this is a 2,700 square foot tract.
But here's the thing though. If you had done that through auction, right? The real market clearing price could have been 2.4.
Well, in my case, I pretty much handle it like an auction.
Right.
I do open house for at least 2 full days.
Right.
Let everybody take a good look at it and literally do open bidding where I keep going around to everybody who's a bidder and saying, hey, you're going to lose unless you go higher. Giving everyone a chance. Everyone else does blind bidding, which I can't understand.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Why you would do that. No, but doing that, if I would have done that, I had 5 offers at the time from 1.85 to 1.95. If I was every other listing agent in San Diego, I would have just turned to the seller and said, I got you 1.95.
Yeah.
Oh, sign that. And the sellers would have been happy. They were looking for 1.8. I got 1.95. Oh, yeah. And that's what's happening everywhere. At least around San Diego County, blind bidding. No one tries in it. No one does highest and best anymore. Just put your offer in and, we'll let you know. And you get that Dear John text about 3 days later. Oh, you lost.
But so let me ask you about that because I've been, checking out your more recent blogs. And I think you had a story in there talking about this open bidding and how you recommend the seller ended up taking like a 1.85 bid over a 195 bid because it was a better offer, stronger offer. So the question there is, in an open bidding platform, how do you take account for things like that? And I think what you had written was, even though it was numerically a lower offer, it was a stronger offer because of various, it was more likely to close. Like, how do you take
Yeah.
that into account then?
Well, there's two other people that commented on that, and I didn't write that very well
Mm,
because what I said is I had these offers 185 to 195, and look how it ended up. And then I put in a photo of the listing showing I raised the price to 2.1,
you're right,
hoping that people would say, well, geez, he sold that for 2.1,
right.
which is what happened. Every other agent would have taken the 195. I I would never have taken the 185, even if it was cash closed in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've taken financed offers over cash offers uh, a lot because you can, the financing is pretty solid. People coming in with 30, 40, 50% down, they're going to be able to get a loan. I'm not going to leave 50 grand on the table to take
Mm-hmm.
a cash offer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to trust that they can get financing with 50% down, and I'm going to take the money.
But like, that's, I guess, what I'm asking, if it went to an open auction type model, right? Because ultimately, Jim, it's not your decision. It's the homeowner's decision. It's the seller's
Absolutely.
decision. So how do you account for these non-financial factors, I guess? Do you know what I mean? Because
Well, I've
that's
been
the
thinking
area
about
where
it.
I feel like, as a seller, then I would be asking you, okay, you're the professional, right? How do I understand these different offers when one is all cash, 2-day close, the other one is, 50 LTV, 1 week close, and here's one that's a FHA loan, with 2 months. Like, how do I account for all that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, in the auction format, if we were able to do it, there would have to be at the end of the auction, when everybody is exhausted, we have a winner,
Mm-hmm.
there would have to be a meeting between agents and sellers to say, is this the one you want?
Mm-hmm.
Because that second placer was probably close enough that if there was something better about that second placer, you might be thinking about taking that. That's going
Mm.
to have to factor in because you're going to end up having a 2 to 4 week escrow anyway.
Right.
It's not like you're selling art and you just pick it up and walk it out the door once you pay.
Right.
Because there is going to be times when other variables are going to play a part.
Right.
So
Lease
really,
backs and so on. Yeah.
if we were to do the auction format, it would just be to set up the winners. It'd be the choosing device
Mm-hmm.
to rank the winners and then go to the seller, say, okay, here's what we got. You
Mm-hmm.
want all the money. This guy looks pretty solid. Take number one. Or, oh, hey, number two might be something special about them. You may take them.
Mm-hmm.
In almost all cases, I think you would end up taking number one. But you're right. There is other variables, and
Interesting.
you would
Yeah.
just have to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So to bring this back onto where we started, do you believe that then that we will see an auction model which then eliminates buyer agents, or that because you're predicting the buyer agency is going away, that we will come up with an auction model in order to deal with the fact that the buyer agency has gone away? Like, which is chicken and the egg, I guess, is the question.
Yeah. If we can do the auction format, because I think it's imminent. I think it's going to
Mm.
happen. And I hope I'm a big part of it.
All right. Yeah.
Google,
If somebody
Amazon,
else is
listen.
working on it,
Yeah, I got your
call
number.
Jim.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of with you. Like, when I first got into real estate, especially residential real estate, I was coming out of commercial real estate. Before that, I was in the .com world. And I remember reading a book, I want to say in like 1999, 2000 timeframe, called Transparent Markets. And it was by a couple of technology futurists and they were talking about the internet, right? Because the internet was really new. And what they were pointing out was that this allows for open auction, like for everything, for all types of different markets. And I remember thinking, this makes perfect sense for real estate. And I'm coming out of the commercial world where auctions are much more common, and they're not as rare. and they don't have
Yeah.
the stigma that I think auctions have in residential real estate. And I remember thinking, with the internet, this is easy, right? Like, you don't have to go, travel to some location and sit in a room. Like, you just do it online. Like, okay, bid, eBay. It never really happened. We just haven't seen that in what, 20, 30 years. Um, so I guess
Well,
that's,
this is the perfect environment because what was always the big complaint about auctions was sellers. Oh, I don't want to give my house away.
hmm
What if nobody shows? What if I got to, in this market,
yeah,
this
yeah,
is the perfect market to launch an auction format because we're trying to figure out how to get you high enough
yeah, yeah.
to get you all the money you deserve.
So
And
let's think about it then
sellers
as a
should be real
practice.
open to it.
So let's actually think about that. Let's say an auction, let's say San Diego, some auction format launch. Let's say Compass launched an auction format, right? As a working broker, as a working realtor, with a team, how do you think that plays out in the day-to-day practice?
Well, I think it's just poof. It's over. The minute it kicks in, everyone's going to want to do it
hmm
because everyone will be pushing to make it the premier way to sell homes. Why? If you're a realtor, the buyer's paying the commission now.
hmm
We're getting full commissions, both sides.
So if
They're
that
like
comes about,
10%. Let's just do a 10% premium.
okay, so if that comes about, you're saying that even if you were representing a buyer, you would say, let's just go to auction and I get paid a premium, right? But what's the
Yeah, and I
service you're
still have a
offering?
role to play. I'm
Okay,
going to be their advisor.
okay,
I'm going to be able, if we didn't have a chance to do our own inspection, I'll be able to read the home inspection provided,
right,
be able to look around the house and get a good feel for it and tell you my thoughts.
right.
And then while the bidding is happening, I'm going to coach you on how high you want to go.
Gotcha, gotcha.
So there's a buyer's agent role there.
And then the buyer would just pay you directly somehow.
Well, no, they're paying the premium, which is all part of the auction, and then the auctioneer pays you
Gotcha. Okay.
because they call it a premium, but it's really commission. We'll we'll add
Interesting.
lots of
Somebody ought to be taking notes. I'm taking notes because if nobody else
that's
starts
the
to,
camouflage.
maybe you and I have to talk further about what the possibility of something like this is.
But
Okay. Well,
let's flip back to why buyer agents are going to go away quick.
yeah.
There's incredible pressure on commissions right now. Around here in San Diego,
hmm
what was, and I don't know, I don't care what people say about price fixing for
hmm
this moment.
hmm
Any other moment I do, but for me and you, standard market commission's been 2.5% until about a year ago. Virtually half of the listings in San Diego are offering 2.0.
hmm
And Redfin, here we go again. And this really got me going. On Redfin Now listings, they're offering 1.75 commissions.
Okay.
And that's just the big middle finger to the industry from Redfin. It is probably going to end up being a trendsetter because now it's all advertised. When
Sure.
consumers start seeing, well, Redfin's only paying out 1.75 to buyer agents, I think I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
And it's just going to keep going down. I saw a guy today offering 1.5. You know, if there was a true commission compression where the seller benefited, it'd be one thing, but it's not that.
hmm Okay.
I'm going to say in almost every case, agents, especially the big teams, are still taking listings at 5 and 6%. They're just offering less to the buyer's agent.
Right.
They're taking 3.5, 4% and giving 2% to the buyer's agent. Well, the buyer agents are working how much harder than they used to because they
Sure.
lose so many bidding wars. How long are they going to put up with that, especially when the median age is about 62 amongst realtors?
Right.
Aren't you just going to say, I'm not doing this anymore?
Right.
It's going to expedite the retirements of anybody older than me. So that's half of the realtor population. And probably take out plenty of the newbies who don't have the chops to be able to hang. And either they're going to have to go work for a big team or they're done, go back to bartending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just the commission rate alone dropping is going to put an end to buyer agents, because how many people are going to work for that? It's tough work.
Yeah.
How do you survive these bidding wars where over and over again? I've had these people, this would be a good example of many I could give you, who have been in the hunt for now probably probably close to a year.
Mm-hmm.
We just offered on a 1.9 list price, we offered 2.15 million with a big down payment,
Mm-hmm.
short escrow, waive the appraisal, do everything we can, which everyone else is doing. 2.15 on a house built in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
back in the power lines, but had a big yard, had lightly remodeled, not full remodel.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened to be listed with Redfin. Redfin agent emails me back, oh, we only counted the serious offers. I offered 250,000 over, and you don't think I'm serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's enough right there. I don't need to be buyers anymore and take that abuse from Redfin agents, let alone the rest of them. Or how about the ones that just they cheat? I mean, there's plenty of people that are doing shenanigans behind the scenes and tipping people to what it's going to take, not tipping other people, and keeping it in habit.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. I mean,
Yeah.
I got 100 stories every year
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
how unfair it is to buyer agents. So they're going to want to go away. They're not going to just get rubbed out. They're going to be happy to go away. Bartending's looking pretty good.
Sure.
For most of these people.
Interesting. All right.
So there's all these things all pushing in the same direction, and it could really build some steam in 2022.
So Jim, when you talk about this among like other brokers and agents, like what's their take? Do they agree with you? Do they like throw
Absolutely.
rocks at
Absolutely.
you? Like
Absolutely.
They all agree with you. They all see this coming.
Not everybody's paying attention that close. And they really don't want to believe it. But they can't deny it, that it's hard work being a buyer's agent. Right. Nobody appreciates you.
Right.
Your buyers are kind of wondering if you're ever going to get them a house.
Right.
So you're not even getting any love from your own clients.
And you're not getting paid while you're working for
And you're not getting paid a penny.
Right. You only get paid if there's something closes.
I think there's going to be people who like working the buyer side, that if the FTC throws down and buyers have to pay their agents, they're going to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about time I got paid something for. I mean, you think about buyers today, it's probably going to take a minimum 3 months to find a house, probably more like 6 to 9 months to win one.
Right.
That's a lot of work for free.
Right.
Along the way. And you get paid at the end.
So, gotcha.
Maybe, hopefully. But
so your prediction essentially, if we boil it down, is market forces will drive buyer agents out of the business without even talking about legal changes, regulatory regimes, without talking about any of that, just operational market forces. It's just killing off buyer agency through that.
And one of the most powerful market forces will be the buyer agents themselves surrendering. You know what?
Right.
I've had enough of you.
Yeah.
All you're doing to me, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, enough. Right. All right. So if that happens, like, what's your prediction for, let's say San Diego, because you know San Diego so well, right? How many?
Well,
many
just go
agents?
to the listing agent.
What's that?
You just go to the listing agent.
I know. So how many agents will be in the San Diego market?
Oh,
it's in your MLS, which, like you said, 20,000 today.
Yeah, it will be down to like 5,000.
5,000. Okay, so 75% of agents you think will just say enough is enough. I'm done with this, and get out.
But Rob, let's face it. At least half of them are already thinking that just because they're old. I mean, this business is tough enough. Once you get into your 60s,
Yeah.
70s,
Yeah.
you
And
don't
you
want to be doing
you're not
that.
seeing the new blood. You're not seeing the 30, 20s, 30
Oh yeah,
somethings coming in.
no, there's plenty of new blood coming in,
Okay.
plenty. And I think most of them are doing the right thing and working on big teams, and that's really the future. I mean, you
Yeah.
talk about market forces. That is what's going to be. That's what's going to prevail
Yeah.
because the big teams get the listings.
Yeah. Yeah.
They spend the big money. You think of besides the Zillow advertising, think of the people who have been working farms for years
Sure.
and are spending 20, 30, 40,000 a month
Sure.
on mailing their farm. If
They're doing
you're a
all right.
big team, you
Yeah.
can afford that. If you're not, you aren't going to be able to hang.
Yeah. 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 All right.
So teams are the future.
Well, I know we have a hard stop coming up, so let me first of all say thank you very much. But let me ask you: is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you really feel like the industry should at least that we should be talking about?
Well, one of the things that I thought would be the most interesting thing that could ever happen is if the listing side commission rates got exposed.
Hmm. You mean on the
Oh,
MLS
wait.
or
Oh, that's the contract between me and my seller. Oh,
right?
we no, no. I know.
Right.
But wouldn't that be of interest to the consumer?
I mean, what the listing agent is getting paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then for the people who shop based on the rate, you would have all the knowledge you need. Right now, you don't have any.
Mm.
All you know is you think that, you know, Jim and all those other big time realtors,
Yeah. Yeah.
they charge 6%. And I'm like, how much? I would sell my house if I could sell it for a rate less than that.
Yeah.
But how do you shop rates? Now the buyer side, in fact, it's actually going to probably backfire, exposing the buyer side
Yeah.
commissions.
Yeah.
Because now, like this guy who's doing the 1.5 today, if you're a seller and you see that advertised,
Hmm.
you're going to think, well, he's got the lowest rate. I'm going to list with him. But then when you call him, oh, well, yeah, my rate's 4.5,
Hmm.
I take 4.5 and I pay 1.5, so it's 6 total.
Right.
You're going to be in for a rude awakening when you
Right.
find out how unbalanced it is on split and commission.
Right.
I don't know. Do you think there's any chance of that? Any chance that the FTC would want the listing side commission rates advertised anywhere like the buyer side? I mean, if they are insisting
Yeah.
the buyer side gets
Anything's
advertised.
possible. You know. Literally, like at this point, like the FTC is under direct presidential executive order to regulate real estate. Anything's possible. I said, look, and I think a fair point could be raised if let's say I'm exclusive buyer agency, right? Because there are a few of those, and
Yeah.
they have a pretty strong voice. If they say, okay, we can't avoid this, so at a minimum, we should be asking for fair treatment. It's like, look, if we have to disclose our commission,
Yeah. What's the difference?
what's the difference? Everybody, all the commissions should just be disclosed and posted
Yeah.
publicly and on Zillow and on Redfin and whatever else. Like, I could see them making that argument, and it's no skin off of FTC's nose. What do they care? Right? They're just
Yeah.
government bureaucrats. Just say, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, that sounds good. Let's make that happen. I could see that happening. But
They
it's
would
interesting,
be able
yeah,
to say, look what we did for the consumer.
yeah, transparency for the consumer.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
anyway, awesome. Well, Jim, thank you so much for your time today. I want to
Yeah.
say this isn't like the happiest topic, but
No.
here in Notorious,
Well, it's worth talking about.
we so rarely talk about the happiest topics. We talk about hopefully the important topics that is worth talking about, and I think this one for sure is. So, thank
Let
you.
me give
Hey,
you
if
one
people want
more
to
to think
reach you, how do they find you?
Oh, you can find me at bubbleinfo.com. That's the
Hmm.
easiest way. Phone number is 858-997-3801.
Right on. Only a realtor would
Call
just give out
back.
personal phone numbers on over the internet, but
Yeah,
I
I
know
don't
it's
care. My number's everywhere. I'm happy. And I answer my phone.
that's right.
I don't know why people, you can find it
Yeah.
anybody's phone today.
Yeah.
So why try to pretend like you can't be found. I want to be found.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jim. And thanks everybody for listening to an important topic.
And Rob, thank you for doing these, and thanks for being the pillar in the industry that you are. Nobody does what you do. And I wish
I
there was a
appreciate that.
little more thought going into this business. And thank you for being the one that provides
I appreciate
deeper
that.
thought.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much. All right. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody. Take care now.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you.